Right? Ready?
I'm ready.
Call the Mountain Bay Metropolitan Police Department Oversight Board to order. May we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Jordan,
Here on Zoom.
Mr. Jablonski,
Here.
Mr. Maloney,
Here.
Mr. Zugami,
Here.
and Mr. Helgeson.
Here. Agenda item number 2, announcements and statements from the audience. Anything? Nobody else on Zoom? I take it? No.
No.
I mean, the minutes from previous meeting, oversight board meeting minutes of February 19th, 2026. Anybody see any corrections, changes, additions? Joe and Husheng, any changes, additions to the minutes of the February 19th? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve?
Husheng made the first motion and then
Motion by Husheng, second by Jordan.
Mark.
Second by Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Budget to actual?
Yeah.
Right.
So I wanted to point out, I can pull it up on the line in a second, but it'd be on page number 2, towards the bottom. I know there's going to see a large overage in K9 capital, but I just wanted to, remember that that's funds that are coming in and it's being expended through some donations. So it's not like we're having this major catastrophe in terms of actual budgeting, but it's just some of the capital purchases on 2 squad cars, correct?
Correct.
That were purchased. And again, we only had budgeted a smaller amount there, but the revenues that are coming in from the donations are what's offsetting a significant portion of that. And then there's really nothing, unless there's anything that there's nothing that's jumping out for us.
Anybody have any questions for Ryan?
None from Maloney.
Very good. Do we have a motion to?
We don't.
Oh, we don't need a motion. Budget. Thank you, Ryan. Agenda item number 5, discussion of possible action regarding current Mountain Bay Metropolitan Police Department building project, building specifications regarding HVAC, BAS controls, networking systems, etc., bidding procedure, bidding timeline and submittals, furniture, fixtures, and equipment procurements, soft costs, construction costs. Chief?
So we have Tom and Matt here. There was a bunch of questions that went out here in the last email here in the last day. So I thought it was appropriate that all the questions are asked here with oversight with people with some more expertise on it, including Jason and Husheng that have been part of this process from the beginning. So Tom, I don't know if you want to start with that or how you want to go about it.
Yeah, well, I think, maybe it's a question for Husheng and Jason. There's just a number of questions that we need answered so that we can complete the front portion of specifications. They're detailed information about how we'd like to advertise for the project, what kind of contract you want to set up with the bidders, all those kinds of things. So I guess maybe it's like I say, a question for Husheng and Jason if maybe they know the answers, or maybe there's something there that needs to be discussed with the group. I'm not sure, I guess.
Okay, I think we should probably just take it line item by line item. Does that sound okay? Number 1 down and just kind of go through them and we'll talk through each point. Sound good?
I would prefer that.
Okay. So your first one is there a specific contract? Right, that's the only question between you and the contractor, standard AIA, I would guess, contract. I don't know, have you put those together in the past?
Who's the you you're referring to? Because it's not a contract between us, it's between Mountain Bay and the contractor, right?
Yeah, I'm just speaking from the district. When we do it, our architect a lot of times puts that together on our behalf.
Oh, we can put it together. I'm just asking if there's a specific AIA document you want to use, as the basis of your agreement between you and the contractor.
I don't know of any. I don't know specifically how many different versions of an AIA have you produced for similar projects?
Oh, there's a few. We can get those to you.
Yeah, I guess we should look at that then. If you've got a couple of templates, we should look at those templates.
And maybe the better question, Jason, is just understanding the delivery method and from our last meeting, right? Is it just a lump sum proposal between Mountain Bay and a general contractor that would limit it, I think, shortlisted down to a couple of documents? Is it more of a CM proposal? Is it a time and material not to exceed? All of those have different AIA forms. So maybe you know that already, but maybe there's something you need to talk about as a group too.
Yeah, so maybe we should jump down. I think that's down in here somewhere, but it's down further.
Yep.
Which one?
Number 6.
Number 6?
I think.
Yeah. So the question is, do we want to send this out for public bid or do we want to work with a CM? That's the first question we have to ask ourselves. You send it out for bid, you're going to get more, just say, local people bidding it, right? It's not just one contractor that's going to be pretty much handed the project. There's benefits to both, right? There's benefits with having a CM that's working on your behalf. A lot of these things like the AIA contracts, the pay applications, all that stuff, right? Then that CM would do all that work for you. But there's fees that go along with that. You're gonna pay for that, and their soft costs, and their general conditions. So we have to decide which way we want to go.
I guess I have one question. For state bidding law, a municipality is required to bid a project for a building. I don't know if this entity is considered a municipality or not.
We are, because the funds come from municipalities.
Okay.
So the answer to that, I would say, is yes.
Okay.
So then the easy answer would be, we put it out to bid.
Yeah.
Right. I would assume.
Okay.
That's really I'm gonna go back to phase 2, and Matt, I'm sure you have our contract. I know Tom does as well. We're still in that phase 2 portion of that original contract signed back in November of 2024 between Bolt and HTG, which talks about, that the deliverables that were accounted for in that original contract are the developed final design plans and specifications that would be given back to Mountain Bay Metro, I'm going to say, or we, as in Mountain Bay Metro. And I think that's what we can't really do the contracting side of it until we have these documents, right? I think that's a big pivotal piece that we really got to get to the finish line. And I know Administrator Jamie has been mentioning that as well in past meetings, but I just kind of want to keep circling back that that's still something that needs to be delivered, because I think there's been some times where it seems like we're in the spider web, right? Where are we with this? But really we need to home back in and make sure that we're driving back to the same goal and the same deliverables that are coming from both Bolt and HTG.
Yeah, and apologize if there's been a misunderstanding or projection of anything different. I would agree, especially hearing that Mountain Bay wants to go and get multiple general contractor prices, again, a bid, GC bid environment. Yeah, you can, but would not advise going out to market, I'll call it, without having those documents. Now, again, we can't send those documents out to the market until we know what that contracting method is, which is, again, the question that Tom's asking. So
Right.
Hear what you're saying, and we're very close to that. These answering of these questions buttons up some of those front end documents so that interested contractors know, okay, hey, Mountain Bay wants to hire us in this type of format. Here's how I propose on the project. Here's what the terms and conditions look like. When do I get paid? How do I handle invoicing? How do I handle submittals, right? All those technicalities, so that you say, hey, Bolt is the low and best valued bidder. We're going to hire them. Great. Now we have everything in place to be able to bring them on board. So, yeah, maybe there's some chicken and the egg, but I think just hearing this quick conversation, I think will help Tom align to what that needs to look like.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, we're just trying to the specifications need to let the contractors know kind of what your expectations are and how everything's going to run. So all that needs to be in these bid documents that we're preparing to deliver to you.
Yeah, the building in and of itself is one thing, and I'll I'll make it sound easy. That's the easy part. This is some of
Yeah.
the front end
That's right.
language and documentation that completes the rest of it. So.
All right, so if we are in agreement that it's probably single prime contractor,
I mean, I guess as I let this play out, I think you could still hire a CM as long as they bid out their portion of the work packages. So you couldn't just hire somebody and then they negotiate with subs and go do the work. They would have to still bid out, whether it's the steel, the concrete, whatever phase that they'd be doing, even anything that they might self-perform that should still be, I believe, bid out, but what I can tell on state statute, a municipality has to bid the work. So whether it's still you hire the CM and they get the work themselves, or they maybe don't get it because somebody else came under them, that's an option.
when you guys built your new building, what format did you use?
Our architect bid the project.
Yeah.
And then they were our on-site inspector, kind of follow up on progress meetings. They took care of submittals and, the shop drawings, the pay apps, all that stuff.
And we've done it that way, and we've done it where we've hired like a Bolt or a Findorf or whoever. We've done it both ways. But I think what we're talking about is probably just hiring a single GC and letting them bring on the subcontractors. Because we don't want to handle all the subcontracts as well. We want our general contractor to.
That makes sense.
Have the sub.
That makes sense. And then getting down to the time frame of when you put it out for bid, how long are you going to give these contractors a time frame? Is that normally like 30 days?
Oh, to bid it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what would you say, Matt? I mean, typically you're probably minimum of 30 days, right?
Yeah, it's probably a 3 to 4 week turnaround, right? You'd say, hey, we're going to send this out on a Friday and follow up, the following Tuesday to do a pre-bid meeting. I mean, you don't need to necessarily meet on site for a project like this. There's no real existing conditions to look at. You could do a virtual page turn or however you want to handle that for interested contractors, and then give them 3 to 4 weeks to bid it, turn it around. I mean, project of this scale isn't super extensive.
Yeah. So
Number 4, 30 days.
let's say 30 days.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Where and how are the drawings made available to bidders?
Yeah, so there's a couple online platforms. I don't know all of them, but Matt's probably got a pretty good idea which ones they are, where typically the contractors will go in and they can search for, projects in their area that they can bid. That would be the most, I guess, transparent way, right?
Mhm.
To put it out there, so any qualified contractor could bid on it?
Sure. No,
I
I
would
think
look to piggyback maybe in the couple municipalities involved. If there's a solicitation, usually it's an online portal like Quest CDN is one, or a few others, and they automatically link you up to some of the public platforms. But if there's a central location that one of the municipalities has to advertise, I think just people are already actively looking in that world, and maybe even get some of the notifications. So if they're, I gotta imagine there is something in place, and almost
You
know there
guys-
is because we look for it. So I'd love to piggyback on that if we could.
Do you guys do like a RFP site?
The Village of Weston uses Quest. So if you go to our Public Works bidding site, it takes you to our Quest site.
And we're familiar with that too.
if that's super transparent, I think let's do that. I'd rather,
Right.
that makes sense to me. So
There's
that.
do we have a cost for every bid we put on Quest?
You can put a cost. I think we charge $20 for a contractor to download the drawings and specs.
Okay, but we're not charged to put it on to Quest.
No,
Okay.
And I think you still need to still put it in the Daily Herald for what it's worth as the local newspaper.
Yep.
For the
Definitely.
people that read that,
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll definitely put it on social media, our website, you know, even just like on our poster board.
Yeah, it should go on, your website should go on anything you put out there, and it should go on anything that Weston puts out, right? 3.
Does that help then, Tom, for number 3?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
number 5. Are there scheduled expectations you'd like to include? And I assume that's with the bidding itself?
That could be twofold. I'll speak for Tom. Typically, it's the bid window and pricing window, but if there's a schedule, whether it's just pulling dates out of something that I previously communicated, I think in one of our last team meetings to say, hey, we anticipate you being able to start. I'm just picking a date, right? June 15th, and would like to have this substantially complete by XYZ date or given duration, right? That's typically what's put in the in an RFP like this. Just some parameters to say, hey, you can start as early as this date, and we'd like to have you finished by this date.
Yeah, so, and this is probably, Matt, right? Probably about a year, start to finish, right? Roughly.
Yeah, probably a little. Yeah.
So,
And that makes sense. I think with that, and then to be, and maybe I'm going too far into this, but if we've got the budget and we're comfortable at $7 million, that has to be FF&E, you know, everything, the whole turnkey, right? With a CM, a GC, everything. That means then we're gonna have to dial the actual building itself back to probably lower 6s.
yeah, well, I think, Matt, your first or your last projections on the budget still didn't include like any of the low voltage work or anything, correct?
Correct. It had some, rough-ins for that, but not some of the final terminations and progress. So it did not include that, but I don't think it's millions of dollars. I'll put it that way.
So do we need to wait until we have those final, I'm gonna say, costs before we can make that determination? Because I would imagine, I could be totally wrong, but I would imagine like a CM, it's gonna be a fee based on a percentage of the full project, right?
Well, but you won't have a CM. You're only gonna have a general contractor. They're gonna
Okay.
carry it to you. So you don't have any CM costs in there. The general contractor is gonna carry their own general conditions within their bid. They're giving you one lump sum bid.
Okay.
So when they turn in a number, and we'll get to that about the bonding part of it, right? Which we're probably gonna have to have them bond these projects. They are giving you a number and they're saying, all inclusive, I'm building you the building from the last wire nut that goes in for this amount of money, everything that's within the portion of your page, right? I'm giving you for this number, and I get everything included, right? And whatever costs they have to manage the project, that's all on them. Sure. You go this route.
What they obviously wouldn't have sight lines to is maybe some of those soft costs or FF&E that they're not providing as part of the construction, right? So if numbers come back and the low bidder selected contractors at 6.5 million, but you've got another $500,000 of soft costs, right? That's something that you
Needs to be
as
factored.
they would have to factor in and make sure that you're managing alongside that. So
Now, oh, go ahead.
I would say, is there a contract with HTG or Bolt to continue through construction to answer RFIs and anything like that?
It would be with HTG.
right.
So
So that's phase 4. We do have that, yes.
Matt doesn't want to be in that position, and nor do we want to put him in that position if like Myron gets it and he's managing
Yeah.
it, right? Like that's just awkward.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would have to be HTG. And I think that Tom, that was kind of that last number you sent through, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Does that include site visits and weekly meetings or anything like that?
Monthly site visits, weekly virtual meetings. Yep.
And that's something we can put in the specs too, just the weekly meetings that the general contractor is responsible to start those meetings, get those scheduled, put the platform out there so that the architect and the owner can join. I mean, we can put that in the front end so they know it's an expectation that even if it's not every week, it's every 2 weeks. So.
I was just gonna say, does anybody else on the board have any comments at this time?
Maloney, no.
Okay,
Shang, anything? Or we can keep going?
Oh, he. This game.
Okay.
Okay,
Then
Yeah,
number,
go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I'm good with where we're going. Keep going.
okay.
Okay,
For number 7, I don't have a lot of examples or forms that I would follow by any means, so I don't know.
Typically, what I would see on a bid form is general contractor, to perform the services of whatever that building is, their lump sum number, they write it and they actually put the physical number in there. So that's it. They have it written and they have it, written out. So you have it in both forms. Usually a checkbox, is your bond included? Yes. So like when we open these envelopes, is the bid included in there? They'll have a, or the bond included, is their bid complete? Like there's a checklist that goes along with that, and they have to check that off on their bid form. We can ask them questions like, what subcontractors did you choose? Which is always good to know when you're selecting, just to kind of see who you're going to end up with on your project. So I would ask for, your main subcontractors, your HVAC, your electrical, probably, well, your general would be on there, and your plumbing contractor as a minimum to have those on there and know what those are. That would be on the bid form. You can ask for voluntary alternates, which I would suggest we do. A lot of times contractors, when they're going through these things, they find something in the drawings. They're like, if I used XYZ instead of this, it's going to be $8,000 less. It's always nice to know if you've got one of those things hanging out there and it doesn't change the appearance or the project itself, that you might want to take those into consideration. So I would definitely ask for that. Outside of that, the only other thing I've seen sometimes, you can ask for subcontractor and general contractor markups. So what they're going to charge on, and that's kind of in here too, like what are the on change orders? What is your percentage going to be on a change order? What's your billable rate going to be? You can ask those questions so that you don't get surprised later on when the electrical contractor gives you a change order to add a couple outlets, you're paying $225 an hour when it should really cost $125. Yeah. I typically ask for those on my bid form just so that I kind of know what I'm up against for change orders. So they might say it's gonna be 5% on our work and 10% on subcontract or vice versa, right? They'll spell that all out for you on there.
And we're clear with that, then we have to be clear as a team here, but when that document's out, that contractor is specifying that in that, right? So then it's fair for everybody, right? I've just never I've really done.
It would be
So-
like one of the bid sheet within their bidding documents, like right in the front of their spec book is gonna be this bid sheet, right? And it's gonna have all that on it. And they're basically gonna have to go through and fill that in as they're ready to submit their bid and turn it into you.
Okay.
Are we asking HTG to put together that draft? I guess I'm not.
Sounds shaking.
That's what they would be doing on our behalf, yeah.
The other thing that comes to my mind is, usually there's a spot to show that they've received the addendums, right? To make sure that they've got all the bid information.
Yeah. Yeah, because questions will come in throughout bidding where people have questions about, steel manufacturers getting back to you and say, hey, this tie-in doesn't look right. Like, what do we do here? That'll go back to Tom. His team will have to research it. They'll send out some sort of, document, some sort of addendum on that, like, here's what you have to do in order to bid this. So throughout that process.
Number 8, bid opening requirements. It talks about reading a bid out loud, kind of like when you say "heary, heary" when elections begin. How do you guys handle it with the Village of Weston when you bid? You do that way as well?
We do as well too. I think it's a good practice. We typically put a spreadsheet up on the board, probably like you do, and it has contractors down one side. Alternates, if you have, and alternates would be on that bid sheet too. So you'd have alternates and prime bid, and then you just kind of go, you read them, you fill them in as you go, and then everybody in the audience that's been in the project gets to see all the numbers at the same time, and there's no questions about who bid what that was, and it's the most transparent way to do it.
Very good.
You can specify that bid opening date and time in the specs, either here or in your municipal building. I would say one of those two places. In a public, you'll get, if you have 5 contractors bidding, you'll have 5 people in the audience, right? They'll probably drop their bid off and then sit down to see who gets it.
Sure.
No.
That makes sense. I
Right.
would think we would do it here with the police department being here. Makes sense.
Other thing, we have switched to online bid opening as well, where if they're submitting it through Quest, it locks it. If you say 10 a.m., nobody can touch it after 10 a.m. And at 10:01, we hit open bids and it populates that spreadsheet right away. So I don't know if you guys would be interested in using the online function. Otherwise, you can still require the hard copy envelope. A little more stressful, but
Yeah, I think you can do both. I mean, I think, right? I mean, because you're gonna have subcontractors that are just gonna want to drop a number off.
yeah.
I mean, I've already been sitting in my truck waiting to drop a bid off, and it's due in like 5 minutes, and I'm still waiting on numbers, and I'm writing numbers down as I go in, right? I mean, it gets stressful.
Okay, after bids are received, was a review approval process. I mean, I think that's obviously it's gonna have to come here.
Yeah, it would go back to this oversight committee. It would be the lowest qualified bidder.
Correct. Yeah, it doesn't mean I have to be the lowest.
Well,
It's responsible.
it depends. We have to talk about that next within the bonding requirements, right? Because if we require a bid bond, we have to take, my understanding is we have to take the low qualified bidder.
Look, it goes with question 16 too for the process for vetting general contractors. So do you want to require pre-qualification? So you can only bid on the project as long as HTG, I guess, would say, yep, you're qualified, you're legit. It's not Bob's contracting that's trying to build this thing. It's real companies.
Yeah, I only bring up the lowest responsible because when Jamie and I had worked with at the inception, a lot of this, when you and I met with Flanagan a few different times, or at least virtually on the phone, he just drilled into our heads it has to be the lowest responsible bidder, meaning it doesn't have to, if you and I, Michael, are bidding on it and Dan is, if I'm $12, you're 13, he's 14, but you're a better builder than I am, you could still get it even though you're $1 more. That's the way I interpreted it.
You might want to consider doing the qualifications though, because
I agree.
it may move along those that might not.
I agree. I think that's a great point.
Usually that comes into play where your bid is $10, my bid's 100, his is 101. It's like he missed something. I don't think that's a responsible bid.
Yeah,
It's be closer to that $100 project, not a $10 project.
So that answers then number 16 for you, Tom.
Yeah. So yes, we'll create a set of criteria that we'll have to put out there and have them submit to get pre-qualified.
One of the things that'll limit your 2 minute of pickup, nothing against them, they all do great work all day long, but is going to be the bonding capacity. Those types of people and their companies, I'll say, they're just not going to have the bonding capacity for a project of this size. So it starts to shortlist it to a more commercially minded, group of contractors that have the horsepower and people that you're looking for. So.
And also what Michael is saying is if you say yes to 16, you have to take low bidder because you already showed they were responsible. They already demonstrated responsibility.
Unless you end up in that situation where somebody says I can build this for 2 million and everybody else is
typically different.
You're like, okay, they missed something.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. A question for both Tom and Matt. For number 11 on bonding expectations and requirements, I don't know. Is there a certain threshold? I assume in this type of a project, there's got to be a range, right? And so where is it? Where are we at on that? I'm going to say that equilibrium or that graph that would be comfortable for this type of a project. I don't know that.
Well, Tom, your question is more so whether or not what requirements we're asking on a contractors for their bonding capacity, right?
Right.
Yeah, so he's basically saying if you're a contractor that can only bond 7 million and your bid is 6,325,000, do you want to pick that contractor?
You're stretching it. Okay.
Oh, I gotta think that, and Matt, I don't know, jump in here if you've got a differing opinion, but I mean, you're probably talking a contractor in a minimum of the 20 to $30 million bonding capacity range.
Yeah, I think the state, or at least they used to, I don't know if it's in literal legal language right now, but it used to be kind of the 50% rule, right? If you're going to you're going to bid on a project of 10 million, you've got to show that you've had capacity to do 20 million kind of a thing. So I think that's what you're kind of saying there, Jason.
Yeah. So
The other thing around that too would be bid bond expectation. I'm assuming 5% for a bid bond. That's typically a public entity. And that's just to say, hey, should I withdraw my bid after submission? You can cash a check for 5% of the bid price to cover the differences, kind of a thing. A rarity in today's world, but it's usually an expectation.
all right, so at least 15 million bonding capacity.
Yeah, if we do it the 50%, yep. At least a minimum of that.
Mhm.
Number 12 and 13 regarding the non-collusion affidavit or affidavit for subcontracting. Non-collusion, I mean, how do we, I assume there's legalese that's pretty standard? Or am I incorrect in saying that, Tom?
Yeah, I think there is. We just need to know, do we want to include these things in the bid documents?
It's nothing more than an affidavit they're saying, signing off on within that bid, right? Saying that there was no collusion between them and other contractors to,
Right.
that's all it is, correct?
Right. Yep.
I would include.
And I would, yeah, I think that would be more of a standard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ryan, I think you skipped 10 too.
Yeah. Prevailing wages, Davis-Bacon rates. How do we want to handle that?
It's gonna be tough with a general that has subcontractors that are, you're gonna get union and you're gonna get non-union bids. And a lot of times even your union general contractors are gonna have non-union subcontractors. It gets difficult if you put prevailing wage in there because a lot of these companies, they don't pay prevailing wage. So then somebody has to monitor that they are paying prevailing wage on your project. So for what that's worth.
I agree.
And I don't need to know the specifics, and that's okay. And if it needs to go offline, we can. If there's other funding sources, specifically, federal dollars or grants, sometimes the wages and the prevailing wages or some of those things can trip up contractors around either rates that need to be utilized and or auditable hours. So if any of those funding sources are at play here,
Yeah.
take a closer look at that.
Not that I'm aware of, but I would assume the Village of Weston wouldn't be in agreement with your auditing firm, and we would still want to have them follow the same, like through sam.gov to make sure that the suspension and debarment is required out of each of these contractors. I think. Because to me that it's just holding them to a different standard, because then we're not kicking in like a federal single audit like we did with our PFAS facility, but there's still going to be a requirement to make sure that these groups outside of number 16, yes, we're going to be having HTG vet and have certain criteria, a threshold for them. But I would think we would want to make sure that these groups, if they're a bigger name, that they're up to speed. Like if you look up an LLC, good standing, not in good standing. I want to make sure that these groups are in good standing.
I mean, the contractors that are gonna bid this project aren't gonna go to subcontractors that aren't gonna be reputable contractors. It's just a matter of whether or not they're paying their people prevailing wage. Now, the one flying the ointment might be, I don't know about that grant that you guys submitted for, but I don't know what the requirements are around that. And if you were to happen to get some money and it had a federal connection to it that said you have to use US Steel, you have to do this, you have to do that, that could be a problem.
State grant, and they didn't have anything about wages or contractors, just had to be basically shovel ready or plans, and we had to have 50% of the funding ahead of time.
If that's the case, my opinion, I mean, as much as I want everybody to make a nice living wage, it's gonna add a layer of complexity if you keep the requirements in.
I agree.
I'd just double check the grant if you applied for something just to make sure.
We can do that. Definitely.
Some state grants do require and some don't.
I think the Buy American line is along those same things.
Yeah.
So it depends on where the money's coming from. Sometimes there are things handcuffed to using that money.
11, 12, 13 are done. 14. I guess I'm not really familiar with what 14 is. Tom?
Yeah, I don't know necessarily either. These are coming from some other folks in our office that do the public bidding more than I do. Matt, do you know?
I think it's around that federal funding piece. And if you're not getting federal dollars, I think that wipes it away. I'd have to research it more, but my belief is you're not part of, a lobbying group that's, hey, I'm in some big police lobbying group at the federal level, and now I can in turn push money towards Mountain Bay, right? Kind of a thing. I believe that's what it is, but I believe it's around federal funding sources more
I think
specifically.
that's correct. When you look it up, it says for recipients of federal contracts, grants, loans, or cooperative agreements exceeding 100,000.
Okay, there you go.
So they would not apply.
For number 15, again, back to the debarment portion, how do we want to word that? Are we going to ask then, is it a requirement of the prevailing contractor, not the subcontractors, but the contractors that are doing the work, or at least maybe they're subbing it out, that they're the ones who are requiring that, yep, everybody's been, they're in good standing? Is that how we want to word that?
That's how it would be.
Okay.
The general contractor, they're putting up the bond, it's their job, it's their subcontractor. Their subcontractor defaults on them, it's on them. They have to get somebody to finish that work.
Okay. Good. We did 16, 17. Overhead and profit rate limitations.
This would only apply if we weren't going out for a hard number, correct?
Unless it's part of the change order.
Right.
Yeah, change orders, they're probably going to be governed by rate, but yeah, Jason, if you wanted to put a cap on what that markup could be, sometimes we'll see that, right? Rather than leaving it open-ended, you put a cap at, say, can't exceed 10% or something.
Yeah, pretty
On change
standard
orders?
on like change orders would be 10% markup on overhead and profit, right? That's pretty standard.
Not to exceed 10% or something.
And so if we put like not to exceed 2%, are we going to start to not have people want to bid on that?
They'll still bid, but I mean, you're playing a game, right? It's
They're just going to prop up their rates by that
Yeah,
much.
the materials cost more then, and the
Sure.
rates go up, and then there's an extra half hour on the invoice, right?
Got it. Okay.
So there's 100 ways to skin that cat.
I'm just trying to save a buck, guys, Okay, 18 retainage rules. Like a retainer.
Well, no, this would be like for completion of the job. Usually there's like a 10% retainage at the end.
Yeah.
Everything's got to get finished out, completed, and at that point, we release the rest of the funds, right?
Okay.
Some places, I mean, they'll hold retainage for, man, it's not uncommon to see them hold retainage sometimes up to a year, right?
Yeah, 30 days is pretty typical. Sometimes there'll be
So-
language, particularly around the end of a project, to say up until final occupancy or final inspection, or something like that. So
as they're sending in their pay applications, which will be part of this process, they'll start by giving us a schedule of values. That schedule of values will have their costs breaking down into month by month, how they want to get their draws from us. We'll know that ahead of time. Then, and it'll have in there, in the contract, it'll actually have a retainage piece. We'll pay them all the way out, but until you're occupied and you're in the building, that last 10% doesn't get released to that contractor until everything's been satisfied. All the building's been inspected, all the punch list stuff is done, right? So,
And then Tom, too, I know in phase 4, it talks about the final walkthrough and acceptance. And I would imagine you and your team would be a part of that as well, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So the retainage is just a kind of insurance to make sure they come back and finish things off. So you don't give them all their money, so they walk away. The retainage is kind of incentive to get them to come back and be responsive to you.
So what's the industry standard? Is there a certain percentage that we should be putting in there? Like, is it?
I think it's the 10%.
everything I've.
It's always 10. Okay.
10%.
I have a contractor, he has a 10% retainage.
And how long on our building did we do?
Length of time?
Do final punch, or did we do a year?
It's okay. It's enough for that. Hold only so much. I think you better check out. much you want it, is how much. 50% you hold in so much after that. I don't think you can hold anything.
It's 10% up to 50%, so it ends up being 5% of the total project at the end.
Okay.
So you should check that to make sure you're correct.
How long did we,
The how long you can hold the retainage is usually part of the contract. Specify that. I mean, sometimes it'll say upon final occupancy or, and then there's still a warranty period.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a road.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
That's the other thing too. I would imagine it's probably not on here, but standard 1 year warranty, is that kind of, Tom, what you're seeing?
Yeah, yep,
Um,
yep. Usually we would do like an 11-month walkthrough too, right? So we can identify anything that, and get them back if need be.
Number 19, I'm not aware of any Buy American clause unless obviously we are awarded a grant or some type of a dollar amount that would require that.
or if we decided to
Or-
do it on our own, right? But it does,
Well,
What, say that again, Husheng? Oh, you're saying that was removed.
sounds good.
Okay.
For 20, any project funding, contract special provisions.
Well, I think the only thing we would have to talk about is how we're bringing on our funding, right? Which is when you're bringing on yours and when you're bringing on yours, and you'd have to make sure that on the front end, like the contractor knows that, 3 million maybe is only available until a certain date, and after that, the rest. Because when they put their schedule of values together, if they get to a point where we've exhausted our 3 million and the funding isn't ready on the other source yet, we wouldn't have a way to pay them.
Speak for I'll speak for Rothschild side. We could, the way what we're gonna set it up, providing this moves forward, is that our general fund will cover until we received our revenues from whatever that borrow may be. Our issuance, what we're waiting to do, it sounds like we don't really want to have to borrow until we know a good understanding of what that project's gonna be. Because if we say we want to borrow 2.5 million, but really it only comes in at 2.2, we don't want to burden the taxpayer the extra 300,000. So I think that, to me, that one's almost going to be a little tough to answer now, only because you need it to start really before you can.
I would, in somewhat similar, we would borrow as closest to that first pay app as we could, likely, but we're gonna turn over the funds, right? This would be a separate borrow for us and the fiscal agent handling the payment, so.
Yep.
Our responsibility ends up being, $6.6 million, and that's gonna go to the fiscal agent. If you don't need it all at one time, for sure, we would hold on to it, but if otherwise we aren't the fiscal agent for those funds. That kind of goes back to number 9. I think we need to include that even if they're the lowest bidder on that day, and it still has to go to this board for approval, the Rothschild board and the Weston board, I mean, you could be talking, depending on scheduling there, a month before they would know that it was a go.
I think on bid day, we should have an oversight board meeting that goes right after that bid opening. So at least we can get this part of it knocked out. That way, it's just got to go back to the 2 municipalities. We don't have to wait a couple of weeks when we're there, everybody's there. Might as well just piggyback right on it.
Yeah. So then,
Agree.
in the essence of time, I think then what we would do would be if we could do it like early in the week of the second week of whatever month it is, gives you guys time to put it because you guys are week 3, right? 3rd Monday. And then we would do it on the 4th Monday. I think that'd be the fastest way we could get it from, birth to.
And then it's still going to take time for contracts to get signed, lawyers to look at it, and that whole process is going to take a couple of weeks to get that all flushed out before a contractor's ready to start putting submittals together, getting those out. I mean, all that stuff is going to have to be done then after that before you can even put a shovel in the ground. So
I'll order materials. Hopefully it doesn't take too long.
Yeah.
Okay, and 21, I guess, is a bit open-ended. You know, construction costs, soft costs, FF&E. That's what we had talked about earlier is it's hard to, if we know our 7 million is where we have to come in at total costs, that's where we have to back off the FF&E and soft costs to derive what the CC or the construction costs would be, right?
And I want to just, most of our world now runs on low voltage. So how do we try to grab a low voltage number because they'll charge per pull of line?
We are including that now in our drawings.
Okay.
Yeah, the one thing I actually, in my mind, I'm retracting it back after I thought through the process would be AV. And the only reason being is, I do think we have to, because we have to have a working phone system before we can move over, right? Like all this low voltage stuff, we have to have working. We can't, we're gonna disconnect it here and then in a couple days, we'll get it working over there. Through the police department, you need to have a working system, right? So that's gotta be working and up and running prior to shutting this down. So that's pretty important. But I was thinking about AV and really, it might be better to just get rough-ins and walls for like even our TVs nowadays, you don't need a rough-in for typically for low voltage unless you're doing some sort of streaming type thing. Most of our TVs you just connect, but I guess what I was gonna say is a lot of these spaces are gonna be dependent on how you use them, right? So take like the courtroom area, right? You're almost going to have to work with an AV contractor specifically on what are our needs for mics, cameras, and whatever. And we might not have that number yet. Like that might take a little bit of time. But I think it's going to get messier to try to include it and put some sort of package together that's like a catch-all. You'll end up spending $150,000 on equipment that you probably never use. Sure. And so and even that, you could probably move over there and live without some of this AV stuff for a while. And over time, probably like, we're gonna retrofit this room this year, right? So, Tom, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll get those engineers on board. We want to have a design meeting in a couple of weeks and kind of go through that room by room and see what your needs are. But yeah, we can talk about phasing it or whatever at that point. So
really then outside of that, back to what Tom's saying and what you're saying, Jason, is that we should be working then, if we're gonna have Chief Hunt start to work with the others on the FF&E side, because that's gonna have to be a separate number that we're gonna have subtracted out from our grand total. And before we really go to bid, we should really know what that, to me, we should be knowing what that is, because I don't wanna overpromise and underdeliver on whatever our deliverables are on bid day. Right? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, well, we'll talk about a couple other things here in a second too, but I think whatever we can do, I want this to be a nice looking building, everybody does, but and Tom's gonna know, because they have more detail in these drawings than anybody, they're gonna know the areas that maybe there's a little bit of, let's just say, it's gonna look really nice, but is it what you need? Is it practical for your use, right? So any place in the drawings that we can still make it nice, but not put in the wainscoting and the this and that.
I think we're there already because, Tom, we've had numerous conversations and there's emails back and forth, cut this, cut that, cut this to get it down. And so we've been doing that.
One other thought, while I'm just thinking about it, I'm looking at this. Is this driveway even necessary?
Oh, so we didn't get to this yet.
Can I just take a time out second? Do we have anything else before, I agree, that's a good conversation to have. Is there anything else, Tom, on the sheet of questions, and I obviously hear of what we've talked about that need to be discussed before we go to the layout side?
I just want to ask about the FF&E too.
So far, I got 3 questions in there.
Go ahead, Usheng.
I didn't quite understand what was the decision, but you should have a performance. Question I have, insurance. Insurance certificate, they should provide it. And they should name police department, job, the vesting, their certificate.
Okay.
And the last question I have was, I'll probably answer that. If somebody made a mistake on the,
So Tom, the last question was if somebody made a mistake on the bid, how is that handled?
A mistake? What kind of mistake?
I can answer that probably a little bit. So we've had this scenario.
several numbers up in the project, and you find out one of them is a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle that?
Sure.
Well, wouldn't that be pretty glaring? This is Maloney. Wouldn't that be pretty glaring against the other bidders? Wouldn't that be a red flag if it was that obvious? I mean, a small mistake I could see, but a big mistake would be a red flag and quite glaring against the rest of the bids, wouldn't it?
You know, don't- that big. It's the lowest bidder. It's better.
I see.
Go ahead, Jason.
We're not looking to bankrupt a contractor, right? And contractors make mistakes. And you get your bids in, they should be within 10% of each other. If you have one that's 30% low, you ask that contractor, you need to go back and look at your numbers and you have to let us know if you miss anything. They have to prove to you that this is what I missed in this bid. And yep, I want to try to withdraw. We could then at that time say, we're keeping your bid bond at 5%, right? We're keeping that because you made that mistake. Or we could be nice people and let them off the hook and go to the next qualified contractor. And I mean, we've had this where I've had contractors, it's $250,000, $263,000, $98,000. You missed something, right? But I mean, that's what we've done in the past. You guys sit down with the contractor and go over it. They come back to you and say, I've got it all included and I'm good. Job's bonded, you're good to go. So it's on them if they lose money.
Or you take their bond for the difference of what the next lowest bidder would be. So it's maybe not the full 5%, but maybe it's 2% of their bond.
Husheng, I know you had mentioned the other portion of the bonding and you had questioned two different types of bonding, I think you had mentioned the price bonding.
Performance.
Okay.
If we don't cover all the subcontractor, everybody get paid. It's a payment bond.
Mm-hmm.
Performance bond, take care of the project itself. If you fail to do that, the bonding company has to do the job. That's a performance bond.
The third would be the bid bond.
Bid bond. Okay. So do we want to have a differentiation threshold, a percentage for each of those three, meaning a payment threshold, a performance threshold, which I think we've talked about already, essentially 2 times whatever the price. So we said 15 million here, and a bid one and a payment one. Do we want to have that?
Usually your performance bond would be 100% and your,
Contractor doesn't get paid, they come after us.
yeah, so
Go ahead, Mike.
both would be 100%. So it's essentially what we talked about is doubling it. So your performance bond is 100% of the cost and your payment bond is 100% of the cost. And then the bid bond goes away after the bid. So.
Right. Okay. Did you get all that, Tom?
Yep, I'm scribbling notes, so.
Just on FF&E, is HTG doing a cost estimate on FF&E? Is that our responsibility to do? And I know they said they're gonna put in where the low voltage goes, but I didn't hear that was a separate piece of the bid. So do we have to get that cost estimate? I just want to make sure that we know what those numbers are.
So we should be doing a page turn on low voltage with HTG where we sit down, we go room by room and just see what's being provided in that low voltage, proposal. As far as the FF&E, I would agree, like either, like I've got some historicals, like percentages you use based off the size of a project. You're saying you're using a lot of your furniture and all that stuff, but you'll still have costs. There's stuff you're gonna need.
And I did make a phone call to get an estimate from somebody so that we have an idea what it is.
Yeah.
So we are in charge of that estimate.
I think for furnishing part, I would say yes.
Okay. But you don't have it, Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Computers, furniture, TVs, those kinds of things. Yeah.
So then I guess I just, that we would rely on you to put together that estimate in writing and bring that back to the oversight board to say we need 4 more computers or 10 more computers and.
I think we're good on that aspect. I think it's furnishings for the training room and some of the courtroom stuff.
There's any HVAC that you are not,
Low voltage.
full voltage, but, there's any TVs or, microphones, that kind of stuff.
Yep. And I already have a phone call in for a phone system and it's going to piggyback off our CCIT stuff. So, and that's why you're doing, they're piggybacking it on. They're using the same wiring system on it.
So then we'll bring that back so we can, once we have those, we'll bring that back. Then it sounds like to subtract it out of our 7 and start coming down to back it off. Okay.
We have a couple extra offices. We're not going to go buy brand new furniture, leave it sitting there and be vacant. We're going to leave them vacant until we get to a point where we need those.
Beanbag chairs.
Put a wall in each of those walls.
Joe, Jordan, or go ahead. I just want to see if there's any, Joe or Mark, is there any other questions you guys have though, as we're going to start talking about the actual drawings themselves on a hard copy here?
Maloney's good.
Yeah, Joe, I just want to make sure that there is some consideration about getting federal money that would screw up the labor rate, that sort of thing. You guys have covered that, so I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Sorry, Mark, what was that?
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Shane? Okay, good. All right,
Okay.
back to the
So
drawing.
when we were in the last oversight, we talked about the location of the building on the property. So there was some conversation after that. I did have conversation with Dustin. Dustin's on vacation. When he's on vacation, he sent me this drawing. I sent it back and I had some questions. This was a 90-degree turn on the building. I asked the same thing about the driveway on the west side. I said, can we take that out of there? I talked about widening the entrance driveway because that one's being removed and take the corner out so it's a square. And then increasing the parking a little bit more to the north since this driveway's out of here, just to make sure we have enough room for any big trucks or anything. So
Green thing. Oh my God.
that changes the elevation on the property so it doesn't sit in there and we have such a big elevation change. This is what Dustin came up with. So I'm hoping to get a revision on that plan. I didn't get it today before the meeting, otherwise I would have brought it with us.
And this here would show, my understanding is it looks like with the elevation change and shifting this to the east, that a significantly less amount of fill will be needed.
Well, when we initially told Bolt and HTG, we were staying off from that other lot. This is taking that parking lot and putting it across that gas line onto the other lot and using a space that we already have to try to alleviate all the fill that this project was going to need.
Yeah, it looks like it's about a 13 to a 15 drop, right? That's what it looks like.
Go ahead. What?
Combine those lots and rezone.
I understand, but at least we have to get approval on this to see if it makes a big difference to change. And actually, Jen actually talked to me initially, are we still combining the lots? So she had that on her radar for that. But I think we have to come up with how this is going to sit on there, if it's going to save money or not before we do that.
Yeah, it just adds them up, right? It's not like because it has to go through plan.
Correct. But we still need a building to sit somehow on there before we can go to them and say, this is our plan. If we don't have a building sitting there, then we don't know what we got.
Oh, sorry.
I just, like I said, that the road I was looking at, and you and I talked about this a little bit, I'm like, well, if you don't absolutely need that other exit out of there, because you have 2 points of entrance and exit already, like,
I concur.
you spend all that money to put that curb
Right.
and all that fill down to, because let's be honest, nobody's gonna drive down that. They're gonna go out this other one.
No, right. I agree with you.
That's why I asked it. Nick, we were talking about that today because I sent it to Dustin and asked the question. So, but he's on vacation. He doesn't get back until this weekend. So I'm sure we're going to hear from him on Monday or Tuesday.
Weston site plan standpoint, you wouldn't need that west driveway for anything.
Thank you.
That's all that FF&E money you're getting back.
We're trying to get the cost down on this thing. I agree with everybody.
This does make more sense. Moving this building, that 90-degree shift. You're gonna eliminate that road. You're gonna eliminate a lot of fill that's necessary for construction of that road.
Up to about a month ago, we didn't really understand how much fill it was gonna take and what the cost was. And so initially, Oversight, we all decided to keep it off that other lot, but this is, I think, that where we're at now.
Yep.
And I think that's, yeah, and I think lastly, before moving, I think where that curved driveway is, I think that's where we're able to, it sounds like we're able to pencil in, we can do a CSM and then a Chick-fil-A should be able to go right there. So it should be good.
Perfect.
Sorry, wouldn't it be Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah.
Oh.
Already have one of those.
Is there anything else, Dan, I'm sorry, I'm taking your, anything else on number 5? Otherwise we can, Tom, Matt, is there anything else that you had? Otherwise, can we move
Sorry,
on?
two other quick questions. One,
Go ahead.
the cold storage building, do you want us to include that on the drawings, or there was talk at one point about a cold?
I think we
That might
want to
come
see
later,
where the
but-
building comes in, and we thought we had it as an alternate on there. But we just wanted enough to meet code for Weston, and we don't want it anything extravagant.
Tom, I think for the actual drawings, the only thing you should probably think about is having a 2-inch conduit maybe stubbed out there for power, future power, right? And you're probably gonna put cameras or something out there one day, so another probably 2-inch conduit for anything else you'd put on there to monitor the building. Other than that, if it's cold storage and you're not gonna heat it or anything, doesn't pay to put gas or any of that other stuff out there, but you should at least have 2 conduits on your drawing showed dead-ended at that line for future use.
Yeah, but show the building and call it out as an alternate. That's what I heard. Is that right?
Yes.
That sounds like what Jeremy wants, so
Okay.
Jeremy gets.
The other thing is, right, so right now, right, the civil engineering is a separate contract, not part of our contract.
Right.
So how do you see that going in the future? Are you gonna sign a separate contract for them to do the construction administration and the bidding? And I mean, typically you'd want those things to go together. How do you want that structured, I guess?
In terms of having civil, that would be in concurrence with the general, right?
Well, he's asking how does Dustin's plans get into his plan set? And make sure that the specs and all that are one bid package.
Right.
Because you must have hired Dustin separate, is that what happened?
Yes.
Yeah, so the question would be, you have to go back to Dustin, you have to ask him, like, because he's gonna have to finish all these drawings and get them ready to go to the state and go to Weston and go to all these different entities. Tom is going to have to include those in his bid set, right? And then there would be a specification that goes with his section that goes into that spec book. And so are you just gonna talk to him and pay for that outside of Tom's contract, or are we having Tom work with Dustin?
Was any of that
Here's his
covered by Bolt? Was any of it, Matt, was any of that included in Bolt stuff when we initial?
We had Vreeland under contract up to this point. So I mean, that I think takes care of that. It would be what do you want that to look like going forward? Is it a contract with HTG and Vreeland from Mountain Bay, or?
Well, I almost think, I think that we should have a conversation, not here, but it should be with Vreeland, Chief Hunt, and probably you, Matt, to figure that out and then communicate that back to Tom.
Okay.
I think that would make the most sense because I don't think we've asked Dustin that unless, right?
No, I was under assumption.
Yeah, he's asked the question to me here a few weeks back, and that was again ahead of this, get some of the answers out. So I think he's expecting kind of a breaking of the ties, but
I'll send him an email because he's on vacation. He gets back Monday. And then as soon as he gets back to me, we'll set up a meeting next week.
okay. There's also some things within soft costs, and I don't want to say it's new this year. It actually went into practice probably last October around International Building Code and in the owners, in this case, Mountain Bay's responsibility to contract some special inspections. Typically, that's been the responsibility of the general contractor. So we can help with that. It's, we could, an AET or somebody like that can do a lot of that. And even Dustin can help with that. But under the state's adoption of the IBC code, those contracts have to be let direct to the owner now. So not a huge cost, but it's probably something that we've covered in our budget already. But from a path forward standpoint, just don't want to have it be overlooked.
Good. Are we ready to move on to agenda item number 6?
I just have one more comment. I think you talked about it last time. We need a statement. Spec.
Did you catch that, Tom?
No, sorry, I can't hear what's coming from.
So Husheng had said that the owner of the project, or in the spec plans, the owner of the project should have the right essentially to be the owner to do whatever portion of that project they see fit. Correct, Husheng?
We drop any part we like.
Withdrawal, my apologies. Yep, any portion that we as the owner, that we have the right to essentially withdraw any portion of the contract.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put that language together and get it to you all to review.
Okay.
Yep, that's fine.
Anything else? Or do we move on?
Did you motion or anything at all?
One other thing on the building, that north wall, would that at all be expandable in the future if you decided you needed another 10 spaces?
For the parking lot?
Not necessarily for the building. Could you take the building out more north?
Because the garage now is the west side, right?
Yeah.
So like if you wanted to expand your indoor parking, does that allow for that garage to just keep getting built to the north?
Or could that wall be as such that it could at some point if you wanted to in the future?
Tom,
the question is on the north side of the building itself, the proposed building, that north side wall, could that be, or could it be constructed in a way or designed in a way that, let's say in 20 years from now, the police department adds 10 more employees or 20 more employees, that they want to expand that portion, would that wall be sufficient enough or built in a way that it would allow for that type of an expansion to occur?
Yeah, I mean, you can always, I guess, we haven't seen the site plan, so, but I mean, you can always cut openings into the it's a precast wall, right? So, and the structure is probably running east-west.
and that is the evidence.
How it's sitting there,
See,
so yeah.
The evidence room right there, so it's a hollow room per se that it should go.
Yeah, so even if you need to expand evidence in the future or something, you'd be able to easily just make that bigger.
So,
People are coming in this way now. This is,
Oh,
they're coming.
sitting to the south. I can't see which way you.
Yes, yep, you were right, Jamie,
Yeah.
you were right.
That's
They are.
The vestibule and the entrance.
Yep.
That is correct.
And then down here is municipal court.
Yes.
Yep.
yeah, I mean, did he literally just turn the building?
Yes.
Or did he flip it and mirror it or anything else? Or
I thought I sent it to you. All he did was take it and he turned it. So he turned it one click to the west, to the east. So the front is facing the east, the back is facing to the west.
sure.
It was in the packet that I sent him.
Okay, to Tom?
Yep.
You should have in that packet that Elizabeth sent you.
Oh, okay.
I think that's another good point, though, to say that if you needed to expand in the future, the precast walls, you could, right? It makes it a 100-year building instead of a 50-year building.
All right. Do we need a motion to this effect at all?
I don't know if there's really any motion. I think there's a lot of hashing out.
Okay.
I don't believe there would be.
Okay.
Okay, agenda item number 6, discussion and possible action regarding police day-to-day operation activities, monthly, quarterly reports, structure of employees in police department.
Tom and Matt, if you guys, and Amy, if you guys are good, you're good. So thank you.
All right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank you. Chief?
Yep. Nick's gonna handle, we have our quarterly report done for the end of the year. He's just gonna go through some of that briefly. Then we'll talk about a couple other things.
So the quarterly report that's attached, it follows the same format as our prior quarterly reports. I just want to pick out a few things. So page 3 covers some of the major events that we had. It was a busy quarter for the police department. We had the Monster Bash, which was a large success. We had approximately 2,400 people attend that event, making it the largest event that we have had. Another thing, we also had the canine fundraiser November 1st, where we raised over $50,000, which has helped pay for the new squad cars that were purchased for the canine program, as well as some of the AEDs that were purchased. Moving to page 5, we had added the section for school resource officers, but didn't really have a full quarter of work that they have done. I think it's important to show how busy they are and kind of what they do in the school. And what's listed here is just citations, referrals, and reprimands that they've dealt with. It doesn't even include the other things that they do. So their number one priority is safety and security of the schools. They also help in the schools in many other different ways. They're asked to assist with things or even go out on recess, and the SROs are always there to help. But with students, it's an educational environment. Their goal is to basically educate and get students to do the right thing. And if they can't, then they start enforcement action. So it's a list of everything. On here, you'll see some things like sexual assault. That doesn't mean that there's forcible sexual assaults going on. A lot of that is just they can't consent at their age. So if you have 2 teens that are having consensual sex, it's as mandatory reports, we have to do reports on that. On page 6, we have our stats. So 2025 was the first year where we had a full annual year as a department. We had 25,504 calls for service in that year. We had 673 crash reports, 114 drug arrests, and 84 OWIs within the year of 2025. So busy year, things are not necessarily slowing down, but our officers are also very proactive and have continued to be proactive since that time.
Very good. Thank you, Nick. Any questions for Nick?
I have a couple other additions to that.
Okay, go ahead.
So as of the last oversight board, we added the one other person to the mobile field force unit. He's been selected. That was Andrew Petzel. We also purchased a canine dog. The officer will be going to training at the end of the month. We got $10,000 from the Marathon County Sheriff's Department paid directly to the kennel where the dog is coming from. That'll be Tyler Sinkler. So we will have 3 drug dogs in our department. In addition to that, we have one officer starting here in June that's in recruit school. We hired an officer yesterday. He's in a background check. He's certifiable. He works for another agency. We're hoping he'll be here by the end of the month. We hired another additional officer that'll be starting in January of 2027, currently in a school in Madison. He'll be graduating in May, starting recruit school in the fall. Does not get onto our salary until January of 27. That puts us up to 40 officers. Initially, our budget was budgeted for 41. We want to stay around 40. That was our goal, but it won't hit the budget until January 27 for the 40th officer. In addition to that, we had a retirement. Kevin Ostrowski retired. We had a police commission yesterday meeting. There's some changes to the command structure that'll be coming out. It does not affect the budget. It actually lessens the budget. There's some savings in the budget, even though we're making command structure changes within the department. So.
Very good. Thank you, Chief. Question for Chief?
Can you share the command structure changes or not yet because it's not approved through commission?
It's been approved through the commission. It was approved in closed session. The people that will be notified tomorrow where they'll be going. We are going to have a chief deputy position. There will be 2 captains and 2 lieutenants. However, when we came together, we had 11 command staff members. We're down to 10 with the new structure changes. But even with the new structure changes, it does save money in the budget, somewhere around $30,000 in wages because of how we structured it.
Will you email out a new roster when those changes are made?
Yes. Yeah. Some of it's a little secretive yet because people don't know. And we don't announce that kind of stuff sometimes until people are put in those positions, so you're kind of the first to know.
Very good. Thank you, Chief. Agenda item number 7, are there any announcements and statements from the Oversight Board?
From Maloney, thanks again for the patience. I will be making all the rest of the meetings and recovery is going pretty well.
Very good.
Thank you.
Anything from Joe or Husheng?
Oh, thank you.
Seeing none.
Okay,
Agenda item number 8, set date, time, and agenda items for discuss at next meeting.
yes, so the next meeting was tentatively scheduled for next week, Thursday, the 19th at 3:30. I am assuming then we are not going to be having that one due to this meeting.
I recommend we hold off on the next meeting until we find out more from HTG, because we might have one in a shorter period of time. But I don't think we should schedule it until we know that.
All right. All right.
Okay, so
that-
then no date or time scheduled at this time, and I will notify you once we get clarification.
You want us to just keep that held on our calendar? You think that's too soon?
What's that?
Our next week?
Next week, you want that
No, we'll wait
canceled,
till-
right?
Might be too.
I think that's gonna be too.
I'm gonna wait until you get the results from HTG.
Okay,
We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Maloney.
Motion by Baloney, second by Jablonski. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are now adjourned.